Hi everyone, Jill from the Northwoods. How are you? I hope you're having a great week. I've had a good week. My weight is continuing now to come down again. It's interesting if you look at the history, and we're going to talk a little bit about the history of it, but not too much. But essentially, in November, I went down in dose from 12.5 to 10.0. And this week, I started going down in dose to 7.5. And I continue to feel better and better every week. So I'm hoping this jump down to 7.5 will be a good step for me, will be good in continuing to feel better. Like I said, we're coming up on hiking season, and I'm hoping to go out there and really crush it and, get outside in a way that I've never been able to do before. So that is kind of the plan. And I wanted to do a little bit of a recap because where we've been, I don't want to call it 2 years because I started in June of last year, so short of 2 years, is that I spent the first year losing a lot of weight. And then the rest of that time, really until November, losing weight very slowly. And now I'm down 80 pounds. I finally hit the 80 pounds, and I'm very happy about that. So yay, 80 pounds. But the idea is that lost 80 pounds, gained 12 pounds of muscle, and I keep discounting it. I was talking to my trainer about it, and she goes, you have to stop discounting it. You've been actually doing resistance training for years. It's not like you were nothing and you put on 12 pounds of muscle. You put on 12 pounds of muscle even after you had been doing this a number of times. And I think that had a lot to do with just eating better, eating the protein I'm supposed to eat and doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And so good that way. All my blood labs, great. In fact, my doctor was like, should we do blood labs with you? No, I think you're doing fine. So essentially, the blood labs are all good. And from every aspect right now, I am healthy. The one area that I still worry about a little bit is the fact that I still am, let's say, 25 to 30 pounds overweight. Still overweight, right? It's the 30 pounds that everyone just complains about. And I'm not saying it's nothing because it is still a little bit hard on your joints. My essential plan is that I am going to go down to Mounjaro 5.0 somewhere in June. And then I will stick with that until next February-ish. I'll just wait out the winter, kind of on that medium dose. And then next February, go down to 2.5 and then come off at some point, but it's all going to be based on how's it going? How is it going? Am I continuing to at least maintain my weight? I have built myself up to about 1,400 calories, and I backed off of that just a smidge, just because my weight had been fluctuating. I also now am regularly doing cardio. And this is a struggle. It's kind of like my last physical struggle that I've been going with, is just getting consistent with cardio. So that is really the challenge we have. And what we're going to be doing from here on out is that I'll do monthly updates and tell you just how it is. Again, my expertise, I'm as much of an expert as probably you all are, of people who spent 40, 50 years trying to lose weight. We all get to be experts of it, right? And my expertise is more productivity, project planning, managing things. And I do exercise, but I'm not an expert at it. I do try to eat nutritiously, but I've kind of given you in these past episodes everything I really know about it. And I am continuing not to really add additional calories. So that part is really good. And like I said, now at this calorie, I am losing weight again. I really hoped in going on maintenance to get my energy levels back. And so my HRV, boy, it's a whole other topic, but it's sort of like heart stress and resiliency is coming back up. So as I was losing weight, my HRV was going up, which is a good heart health sign. But then when I got on 10 milligrams, it started tanking and going back into the 20s again. Right now, my HRV is up at 43, and that is pretty much my record. So as it was going up and up and up, it was getting better and better. I am now at the peak of my HRV. My heart rate has come down. Mounjaro can restrict HRV, and I think it's a sign of stress. I think it's putting our body under some form of stress. But as it's helping us lose weight, that's not a bad trade-off, right? A little body stress compared to the stress of having that much weight and the bad things that sugar and all that fat does to a person. So it was a trade-off. But now I feel like I can start trading it back up, because if I get my energy levels back up, I uh, I think I will get out in the summertime and do a lot more. I used to bike a lot. Talking like 2 hour bike rides. We have a lot of trails around here. And so I would just head out on a trail and I would bike, for 2 hours. My goal is eventually bike camping. I have all the gear because I was moving that direction before, that I could, bike 50 miles in a day and then set up camp, and then bike some more and then set up camp again. And I know a place not too terribly far from where I live where I can test this out. And I think I want this to become my new habit. That's really what I'm hoping for. And so essentially everything right now is very good. One of the reasons I started backing down on Mounjaro is I started losing muscle mass because I think I was stalling in eating anything. At some point, you might get to a level of Mounjaro where you just don't feel like anything. And then you don't feel like doing anything because you're just weak. And I was sleeping a tremendous amount of time. I was napping a tremendous amount of time. Now I'm back. I'm back to feeling really good. And like I said, I hope the 7.5 is going to be the next phase in all of this. It's kind of crazy because I feel like I'm the odd podcaster out there that most people plan on staying on this forever, and most of you do too. And I totally respect that decision. And maybe I will too. But like I said, I want to give it some kind of a shot to see if I can't either bring the dose off entirely or just bring it to a very low level and just sit at that very low level. We have exciting things coming in the world of GLP-1s, namely ratutrograde. I can't say ever names. Anyway, the next generation of them, really good, right? A lot of people have had very good weight loss with it. I believe that if you looked at Ozempic, it was like around 13% weight loss or 17% weight loss. Mounjaro brought that up to 28%, and people are right now on the next generation of it seeing 30%. But they're also seeing higher levels of side effects. Earlier stages where they are getting to the point where I was on 12.5, where you just don't feel like eat or moving at all. And they're getting that at a much smaller dose. The interesting thing about it is that this new generation of drugs is very similar to this one. It has another protein in it that is there to try to prevent muscle wasting, and then it also helps in weight loss as well. The Triumph 4, I think, is the next trial coming up on it. And it looks promising, but like I said, people have hit side effects earlier, and so I think people are going to have to watch it. Another person in the GLP YouTube realm said that she thinks that for those people who don't have extreme side effects, they will be able to pick their weight. The big challenge is will they pick a weight that is healthy for them? We have seen so many, mostly people in Hollywood who drop so much weight and they look awful. They can't be healthy. It is too skinny. And so I think we're all going to have some perseverance for those of us, who might decide to go on that or continue with GLP-1s. When is enough? When is enough? And so I felt at this particular point, right now was enough. Right now was pretty good for me. And I may come back in a couple of years and knock out that last 20, 30 pounds. The idea is, hopefully, we don't know, is that once you cycle off and you're off of it for a while, you can now go back to that minimum dose again and lose the kind of weight you did back when we first started taking Mounjaro. So my goal is not to go up into dose into high levels if I do decide to do it, or, like I said, maybe try to see if I can't knock this out myself. I'm not really sure how that will go. So I think about this when I was thinking about all of it. At first I thought, we really go, I guess I hear people talk about, and then what they say is that we deserve this. We deserve this. And I think to an extent it's right. For all of us 40, 50 years into this dieting realm, eat this, not that, do this, not that, we have just been shoved all over the place. But the bottom line is, I started thinking about it, and the more I started thinking about it, I don't really like that phrase that we deserve it, because I think that all of this isn't about worthiness or whether we're good moral human beings or anything like that. It is in the end about action. We don't get here based on what we deserve, but based on what we act on. And that feels more true than ever. People will tell us that this is cheating. First of all, if you have, I don't know, like any sort of health issues that maybe you got into on your own doing, right? Or maybe your parents doing, or something like that. We don't d- dislike them because they found a way to get away from it. Like a kid who became an alcoholic or a drug addict early in life, or someone who had a severe health problem. But at some point, I still fundamentally believe this, our metabolism breaks. Whenever we have too much insulin, too much sugar, too much fat all flowing in us, this becomes so difficult to lose the weight that this is a medical treatment at that point. There are a lot of people in Hollywood who are size. I forgot. I was listening to Mayim Blilak, who was on Big Bang Theory and Blossom, and she said she went to a doctor and said, "Hey, would you like me to put you on Mounjaro so that you can lose that extra fat?" And she's like, "I'm a size 6." I mean, oh, but most people in your industry, they'd rather be a size 3. You know, there's a lot of people who do take it, who just want to knock off that 10 and 20 pounds. My friend did that as well. And there's nothing wrong with it. But the question is where we're feeling we're going to have the discipline and have the grit to keep going, is the idea that we're going to take action. We're going to continue to take action. It's one of those things, people yell motivation, motivation, or they mention willpower. But the action the key to it is action. Action wins. Slow steps, taking the next steps that we have to do. Mounjaro certainly helps lower the friction. But from the beginning, and I've said this from the beginning, it reduces appetite. It changes hunger signaling. It changes our physiological thing where we improved insulin sensitivity. And it creates a physiological state where we're capable of losing weight again. All of that is true, and it is fantastic. But we still have to be partners in this. There's enough people, and you've probably seen them all over YouTube, take the drug. They don't lose weight because they're still figuring out ways of eating too much, I think, in the end. Instead of eating any sort of big meal, which this drug would fill you up on, they're just eating throughout the entire day. Or, considering a very low level of exercise as exercise. They're not building muscle, they're not creating habits, and they're not, I think, mentally working their way to the point where they're going to have to get to keep the weight off, even with the drug. You will see, there's someone I talked about before, and she's continuing to talk about this, called the Countess of Shopping. She had a shopping channel. She was 300 pounds. She lost a ton of weight. She is really into this. She is going to take this forever. She has the money to take this forever. And her thought is, I am that person. I will put this weight back on. And so that's her plan. And so she is a good person that talks about trials and pricing. So if you're interested in another channel, that's a really good one that's out there. There's a number of doctors who also talk about this as well. But they are dedicated to doing what it takes. She is strength training. She's doing everything she can. I'm strength training. I'm doing my cardio. I choose to eat my protein. I worked on my sleeping. I logged my food when I really needed to adjust and do that. And so I think at some point, whether you stay on the drug or you don't stay on the drug, it's going to take a little bit of work, and it's going to take a little bit of effort. The body at some point will get used to this new weight, and it'll stop fighting you so hard. When you lose this much weight, like I have said many times before, the body thinks it did something wrong. It is trying to do this math to keep you alive. And it said, boy, Jill, she kept alive at 250. I kept her alive at 230. And when it sees now that I've dropped all this weight, it goes, now I'm down at 157. Oh no, what have I done wrong? And it does everything to fight to get back up to that weight. At some point, it's going to notice. I don't know exactly there's a biological mechanism in there. It's going to notice you did it. It's going to notice that you're okay at this weight, and it's going to give up trying to fight you so hard. I think that is probably 1 to 2 years. Since I've stopped trying to lose weight in October, I was freezing all the time because my body was like going through math panic. I no longer am freezing all the time. In November, when I started going down in dose, my body was fighting me on the weight again. And now 3 months later, it stopped doing that too. So I think that this is going to be a long haul. My skin has retracted. I'm not going to show you too much, but I had a lot of skin in various places. It's still there, but it's coming down. And so everything seems to be rectifying itself to the point where I'm starting to feel like my body is not fighting me like it was probably in November. And so it's going to take, whether you stay on the drug or not, because we get used to the drug in some extents of our body. They don't feel like overall that its ability to remove addiction. So I was addicted to Diet Coke. I haven't had a Diet Coke since the day I took this shot. I'm off Diet Coke and I have no urge to take it, but I'm still on this shot, right? So it's still doing something for me. They don't think that goes away. They don't think some of the side effects, or the effects of this drug goes away, but the part where you metabolically adjust to it, that has gone away. So I think, we're still going to have to fight this good fight. And that means doing the things, drinking the water, eating the protein, having the fiber, and then exercising, doing the resistance training, getting out there for some walks here and there. We suggested last week, I appreciate the suggestion, the weighted vest with walking, I think rucking. Those are some things that are going to help us all along the way to just continue. But it's going to be important because we want to be healthy human beings. We want to be people who are healthy beyond the weight. Weight is one measure. Having too much weight does a whole crap ton of things, I mentioned before, of things that it could do bad for us. It nearly gave me cancer. It nearly gave me, I had diabetes, but I think it was just, I don't think I have diabetes right now. Don't tell my insurance company. But I don't think I have it anymore. My blood labs are good. My cholesterol is good. So I think that we can get to the point where we're healthier. Had a lot of examples in my life, where I'm at that age where I'm starting to see parents age. And I have friends who have parents who took care of themselves and they healed. In one case, my friend's father broke his hip. He walked every day. You know what? He healed pretty well. He's right back at it. But other people who have had knee replacements and hip injuries, didn't recover because they didn't take care of themselves. There's no muscle structure sitting there around the tendons and the bone joints. The muscles protect everything around them. And so if you don't have any, and when they fail, there's nothing to sort of back it up and to give like a brace to it. And so if we want to age gracefully, if we want to do things in our older years, we're going to have to do the gritty things, and that means that. And so that means not wishing for good health or researching like me. I was the endless researcher of good health. That's why I could do a whole podcast about this, because I endlessly research the perfect diet, the perfect exercise plan. It isn't about someone who wants perfection on Monday either, right? I started out great in a week and then, just fizzle out. It is the person who identifies themselves with this new identity and then acts on it. Every workout is a vote. What was that? There's a famous phrase that said, there's two wolves inside of it. I think it was like anger or love, but it works for everything. And the little boy, hearing that from his father said, well, which one wins? Which wolf wins? Hate or love? And he says, it's whichever one you feed. Well, there's a lazy Jill inside of me, and then there's an active Jill inside of me. Which one's going to win? It's going to be the one who gets the vote. It's going to be the one I feed. And so every time I eat a protein diet, it's a vote. Every time I do consistent cardio, it's a vote. Every time I go to the trainer and do my resistance training, it's a vote. And that's what's going to win in the end, is which wolf do we feed? And you're never going to wake up one day feeling disciplined. Um, I collected uh, I collected evidence and stories and research, and that's how I built my identity. Was I was the person who knew more about dieting and exercise than anybody else, and I didn't act on it. I didn't do the things. And this drug gave me the step up. And I told my doctor that because he was worried. He's worried about me going down. To be honest with you, both my eye doctor, the retina guy, and my doctor are like, "Don't come off this drug. This is working for you. Why would you want to do that?" And I said, "You know why?" I said, "I felt like I fixed myself ages ago. I just needed some relief from the weight. I needed some help getting the weight off. And once I get that weight off, I think I'm going to be on the right path." I started acting consistently. I'm building up systems so that everything angles itself towards me doing the right things that are going to keep me healthy. And I think, for all of us who are on this drug, whether we stay on this drug or we don't stay on this drug, is going to require that kind of lifestyle from us. And it's like I said, getting back to the deserve thing, health is not a moral reward, and illness is not a moral failure. Taking Mounjaro is not a moral failure, and it's not a moral reward either. It is where we put our votes, where we structure, where we put our habits. What do we do on a day to day basis? Someone gave a quote that said, "You are the sum total of the activities you take every day." And it's not going to be instant or perfect. And instead, we're going to get to that one small step at a time. The big thing that I'm working on now is stress, because I have an app, and I started talking to ChatGPT about this app, but it's Waltor, and it basically tells you when your body is in fight or flight syndrome, or method, or you're relaxed. And I notice, man, I am on fire most of the time. And what AI said about it was, well, it's not necessarily recognizing that you're stressed. It could be that you're focused. Because I'm writing podcasts, I have 4 other podcasts. I'm writing them, editing them, I'm paying attention, right? So it's not necessarily stress, but I did notice that right away in the morning, I am wigged out on stress. For whatever reason, me waking up is incredibly stressful to me. I'm not a morning person. So I kind of understand that. So I started working on that. Just staying in bed for 5 minutes, doing some quick prayers, kind of just thinking about my day, and then getting out of bed stopped the stress in the morning. I noticed there's certain things that stress me out at work. There's certain things that stress me out at home, and I'm working on them, because stress is probably my next biggest health risk. Stress is one of those things that it affects your heart, it affects your hormones. When you have stress, your body is throwing out cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It is used in companionship with melatonin. Melatonin is like, "Hey Jill, it's bedtime, time to go to bed." Cortisol is, "Hey Jill, time to wake up, get out of bed." But cortisol is also used for stress because it will provide quick bursts of energy, adrenaline. And the idea is our forefathers getting out there chased by tigers, right? I need energy to run away, or I need to chase that gazelle down the street. I need a boost of energy. And so it spits out cortisol. But what it also does is it puts on belly fat, because belly fat is liquid fat, and it helps us have a burst of energy so that we can go out there and chase that gazelle, or run away from the tiger. But we don't do that anymore. We get stressed out because our boss yells at us, and then have that belly fat. All that fat floods into our system for readily available energy and doesn't get burned off, right? So stress is my next big health thing to tackle a little bit. So that's kind of the general plan with it. I want to send you off and say that you can do this. We can all do this. We know the things in our own lives. For you, it might be social eating or social drinking. For me, it is cardio. I just dislike it unless I'm outside hiking. I don't know why. I just really dislike it. So for me, that's going to be my fight. And for you, it might be something entirely different, but we have what it takes to go out there. And I think the one thing about Mounjaro is, I told my doctor this too, it taught me how much lunch is a good lunch for me. It taught me how much I need to eat at dinner. That's a decent amount, and it fills me up for the rest of the night. I'm good. So I've learned some lessons, and so my goal is not to expand my stomach. It's not to increase the amount of things I'm eating out, with my friends. If that's my new rule. I'm only eating out when I'm going with friends. I'm not going to eat out on my own ever. And to remember these lessons that Mounjaro taught me. The one thing here is that I think in the end, the Countess of Shopping, she wants to continue on with the channel, the research, the talking about it. She has made herself an expert when it comes to GLP-1s. And I think that, for me, this channel has been great for me. I wanted to give you advice because I relied on advice when I first started taking Mounjaro, about, 20 months ago. I just wanted to say this is what my finding is. I hope that you can build on it. And so what's coming now is I'm going to start doing monthly shorts where I just give you an update of how it's going. I'll tell you how the 7.5 is going if I continue to come off this drug. But I think that this particular chapter is what I needed to do. I said what I had to say about it. And I'm going to talk about maintaining a structure, about maintenance. But it's not going to be probably the big, long discussions we've been having. I think I've said the things that I've wanted to say to you. I want to hear from you. I hope that you continue to tell me how you are and how you're doing and how everything is going. I wanted to let you know that I have the Small Steps channel. The Small Steps channel is about all of the things I talk about, but I just don't dedicatedly talk about health. I talk about productivity and checklists and, making your work better, gaining consistency, building systems, reframing things. And so this channel that is attached to this Mounjaro channel is very, very similar to this. And every once in a while, I will talk about health. It's just one of the many topics I talk about. Sometimes I talk about money, and sometimes I just talk about getting your goals. And I hope that helps, in doing that. Like I said, I'm probably not going to do regular, but about once a month, I'll just check in and say how I'm doing and let you know. Because I think I guess it were me, I'd be curious. Can Jill really quit this drug and keep the weight off? Will Jill just start to put on weight and then she'll decide that she wants to go back up in dose? I don't know. I don't know what the answers are going to be. But I do invite you to walk it through the rest of my channels and say hi. Like I said, just say hi and tell me how you're doing. I still care about your stories out there, and I still care about how you're doing this. We're doing the hard work. We're doing the hard things that we need to do. And like I said, we just don't have to white knuckle it. There's no reason that we have to hard knuckle everything in life, that we have to turn all of life into a gigantic drill. We can use every method we have, whether it's digital. I use my entire phone and notifications and every system I have to try to get me to do the things I have as my goals. We know now about endless calorie restrictions that's not necessarily the answer. And we know that we can't outrun our fork. So we've learned a lot of messages in this, but improving, like I said, this drug, improving our insulin sensitivity, that's really an important step for us. So I hope that you stay in touch. I hope you say hi and tell me how you're doing. And like I said, I'll let you know how I'm doing. I have the Start with Small Steps. It's on this YouTube channel. It's also a podcast called Start with Small Steps. I have the Bible in Small Steps, where we're reading through the Bible 3 chapters a week. So it's a 1 chapter at a time Bible study. Slow roll. I want to understand every story, every phrase. If something sounds a little weird, I don't want to excuse it. I just want to figure out what exactly it meant. And then I also have Small Steps with God, which is sort of like Bible topics. It's just not Bible things. And then I have Buzz, Blossom, and Squeak, which talks about nature, right outside our front door, about hiking and why did the lake make that noise, not a deep dive into science. So I hope you join me in all of this. And like I said, I will keep you updated about how things are going. And if I find out anything new, I'll let you know in all of this, or if I learn something that I didn't know before, I'll let you know about that too. So I hope you're all doing well. I hope that you continue to do well on this chapter. And like I said, you can always email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear how you are doing. Like I said, it's I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. It's just we're gonna, I think, slow this particular chapter down in my life and hopefully maintain it. I appreciate y'all being out there. I hope you're doing well, and please have a great day.